morning. My name is Alissa Gomez, and you can see I have a subject about the world labeled with poverty, because I will be talking to you about poverty. And I'm the daughter of like a social worker, so all this ethics stuff, dealing with poverty, anything like that on human rights is pretty much what I've been raised to think about. So how many people here are familiar with poverty? Like, either they know someone, they've seen somebody, or anything like that? Yeah, so quite a few. So what I'm going to specifically talk about today are the people who are affected by poverty, because it is, a worldly presence, and what leads to poverty, and also the things that kind of go on in the daily life of being in poverty. So, where is poverty? It's kind of, I'll just briefly go over my map. These areas with the striped lines are the countries that live in most poverty in the world. These ones are the second most with the polka dots. These are the third most, and these are either not quite as affected, or they weren't put really in the statistics I looked up. And it's the reference I got it from was the finance magazine. I have it right there. So poverty just is pretty much everywhere. We've been talking about, and you guys are all familiar with it. Even though the U.S. is not in the worst poverty in the world, you guys are still familiar with it. Either you've seen it or you know someone who's affected. And particularly here in New Mexico, things dealing with poverty is we're the 51st state, meaning the first is the best, the 51st is near the worst. And we're almost the worst in the lowest per capita income in the nation, and the GDP grants in the state is also, we're the 51st in that. And access to health care or professionals that can give us health care, we're also worse than that. While we are the first and being the worst in unemployment in the nation, and the number of school children who live in poverty and are also uninsured because they live in poverty. So continuing, things that can lead up to poverty, it can be education, poor education. The U.S. system of education isn't the best in the world, which also goes to poverty. Family can also be a factor of poverty, even though it doesn't really seem like it. The early families are very common in New Mexico, and that's usually with parents that don't have a lot of experience or anything like that. There's also food insecurities that are with poverty. Health can be a factor. It's like a cycle that you have bad health, you need medicine, and then you may not be able to afford that medicine, so you can't take it, your health gets worse, you need more medicine, it just goes over and over. So next, the daily life of pretty much dealing with poverty. There's a lot of mental sort of disparities. There's depressions, suicides, there's other sort of mental illnesses. I can't go into all of them because there's so many. There's 2 agencies in New Mexico that deal with poverty, yet they can't really help it because there's a language barrier between them. And there's also addiction with poverty. There's a lot of DUIs in New Mexico. There's drinking, alcohol, everything like that, and child abuse, because people in poverty tend to lean towards anger and hostility because they don't have quite as many opportunities. It's a hard life to live in poverty. And some of the health things that are with poverty are like TB, hepatitis, STDs, diabetes, health disease, dental disease, asthma, and obesity. And I got that actually from a interview that I did with a associate professor from NMSU. And so in conclusion, overall, as I've said, poverty is a world issue. There's many factors that lead to it. There's many things that affect people who live in poverty, while overall New Mexico kind of has it bad, but yet I like to spread the knowledge of it, because spreading the knowledge is going to help. And also changing the structure of looking at it from blaming to actually understanding and not throwing money at the, to help it is a better way to look at it. So thank you.